Okay, so been getting a lot of requests about the goldfish in my book, and it's a harder pattern. It's one of the harder ones, right up there with the turkey and everything. And so I'm going to show you how to make the goldfish. Okay. And I'm going to be using my 3/8 inch gauge 24 peg loom, but you can use any 24 peg loom that you want. If you have the standard 5/8 inch gauge, you are more than welcome to use that for this project. It will still work out the same. Just keep in mind your size will be smaller. Okay, so here's how this goes. What it says to do is you're going to start off working the tail, because this project is work from tail to nose. Alright, so what you want to do is you're going to be working 15 pegs. You're going to E-wrap cast on 15 pegs, and you're going to be doing a series of decreases and increases, okay? And this is going to create that jaggedness that you're looking for. Alright, so we're going to E-wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. I'm going to shove all that down. Alright, now what it says to do, now that you've E-wrap casted on 15. What it says to do is to knit your first row. So you're going to go in and you're just going to knit the row, okay? And that's pretty self-explanatory, all right? Then it says the next row is to purl the row. Then you start getting a whole bunch of the decreasing going on. And I want you to keep in mind that your decreasing is always going to be done on the same side of the loom. So it's never going to be going back and forth, because you need a flat side of the fin, and I give you a picture of what it looks like, okay, when the tail is finished. Now what I realized by somebody else who was communicating with me, that I forgot to put in a instruction on a technique that shows up in this goldfish pattern. It's called a weave-in cast-on. Now, if you have the PDF and you bought it off of Ravelry, you should have an update that came to you. Okay. If you do not, show me proof of purchase, and I will send you a copy of the most up-to-date PDF, which I include the corrections, video link ads, that kind of thing. So if you are wanting to keep up to date with the most corrections, and let's say you didn't buy it off of Ravelry, let me know and I'll make an arrangement. You have to show proof of purchase, and we will make an arrangement to get you a PDF with the most up-to-date corrections on any pattern, and video links, because I'm including video links under the images in the book as I complete the different patterns, okay? And my goal is to get through all 50 patterns in the book, okay? So we are on row 2. It says to purl. Alright, so we're going to go in, we're going to purl, and then we're going to be starting the decreasing, alright, and that's where it's all going to start to make sense, okay. Now I chose to do a garter stitch as the stitch patterning for the fin, okay. Alright, so we've reached the end and we're on stitch. We're on row 3. Okay, so we're on row 3. What it says to do is to decrease, knit 2 together, knit 13. So you're going to pick up this end stitch. Okay, and you're going to move it over to the next pick. You're going to tighten that up some, but you don't want to tighten it up too much. Alright, now what it says to do is once you decrease, which is moving that over, you're going to knit the 2 together. Okay, then it says to knit 13, which means you just knit to the end. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay. Then for row 4, it says to purl. Alright, so we're going to just purl our way over. Now, once I get you the idea of how this is progressing with this pattern, I'm going to pause the video and tell you to get yourself to that point, okay? Now, keep in mind, you'll need to know how to do this sectioning that I'm doing because you're going to be repeating it one whole more time, okay? And that's going to create your tail fin. All right. I'll show you one more time, and I'm going to leave you to it. Okay. Then again, what it says to do is to decrease, so pick up, move over to the next peck. Then it says to knit 2 together. You're going to knit those 2 together. Then it says to knit 12, which means you're just knitting back to the beginning, okay? So what you'll do is you'll continue to follow this process of decreasing on the one side, and you're going to do that until row 16. So I'm going to tell you to pause the video and get yourself to row 16, and then we will come back and then I'll show you what the next step is, okay? Let's go ahead and pause the video and continue doing the process until you reach row 16, which is a purl. When we come back, we're going to be starting on row 17. Okay, we have just decreased down to where we have a total of 8 stitches. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, we have our 8 stitches. And then we're ready to do row 16 where you purl the row, and then we're going to start increasing. And I'm going to show you how that works. And it's not as bad as you might think, increasing. Now, if you've been following on a lot of my newer stuff for the X Loom and everything, I do a different kind of increasing, and it's mostly to keep from holes showing. But because this is the end of the fin, it doesn't really much matter. So the increasing here is actually going to be very easy. Alright, so we're on row 16, I'm purling my way over. Then on row 17, it says to increase and knit 8. Okay, so here we've done our purls. Then it says to increase. So you're going to go in and you're going to wrap that next available peg, and then you're going to knit your way back. Alright. And you're going to purl your way over, and then you're going to increase again, and then you're going to knit your way back. And you're going to follow this process over and over again until you're back to your original 15 pegs. Okay. So we've just increased 1 and knit 8. Now we're going to purl our way back over there. And then it says to increase 1, knit 9. Alright, I'll show you one more increase, just so you know what you do when you get to that increase peg before you have to increase again. Okay. And then I've purled that increased stitch. Alright. Then it says to increase again, so you wrap the next available peg and you knit your way back. Alright. So it's going to tell you to keep increasing until you're back to your 15 pegs, and that way you have completed a cycle. Okay. So you'll have completed a cycle. After you increase out to 15 again and purl your way back, and then it says to repeat for the rows 3 through 30 again. So you go back up to row 3 and repeat everything from row 3 to row 30. Because what you're getting to after you increase out is you're getting to this point here. Okay, so on your first section you're going to have that much done. So when you repeat it, you'll have the full. Okay, that should give you an idea of what you're after and what you're looking like. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your increases. And then you're going to want to repeat everything over again, so that when we come back we should be done with the tail. I'm going to show you, it says the modified bind off. I'm going to show you what the modified bind off is, and then your tail is done and we're ready to start moving on to the next section, and I'll explain that. So go ahead, do your increases back out to 15, and then repeat rows 3 through 30 one more time, and then we'll be ready to come back to the video and do the modified bind off and go to the next section of the video. Okay, as you can see, when you repeated what you did here, this is what you get. You get a jagged line. Okay, so I have increased my way out. So basically all you're doing is you're doing this, which is what I showed you. Then you're going to go back and you're going to repeat that, and this is what you get. Okay, that is what you get. Alright, so what we've done at this point, I've done all my increase and purl and everything like that. What we're going to do is a modified bind off. I'm going to show you what that is. So you're going to see if I can lift my picture of some. Okay, you're going to knit peg 1 and 2. I'm going to take that back one, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it over one. Instead of knitting this peg, you're going to go back and you're going to knit that first peg again. Knit peg 1 and 2. Take the stitch back, toss the bottom loop over. And I'll show you again, because you're not going to go and knit this peg like you normally would. You're going to go in and you're going to knit pegs 1 and 2. You're going to take it and move it back one, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it over one. Okay? Knit peg 1 and 2. Take it back one, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over one. And do that all the way across. You're going to bind off. And then we'll go to the next section, which is a little bit more challenging, and that's where you attach the tail back to the loom, and that's where your weaving cast on is going to be substantial here. Okay, so the next section is it tells you to do a weaving cast on. And what it says is for the body, you're going to be working circularly, and you're going to be working over the 24 peg looms. And it says weave and cast on 2 stitches on pegs 1 and 2, and then weave on cast on 1 stitch on pegs 3 through 11. Then weave and cast on 2 stitches for pegs 12 and 13. And weave and cast on 1 stitch on pegs 14 through 22, and then weave and cast on for 2 stitches on pegs 23 and 24. Now normally I use a crochet hook to do this weave and cast on, but if you are a strictly loom knitter, you may not have a crochet hook. Okay, so I will try to show you this without a crochet hook. Alright, so let me explain how this works. Alright, when you pull this, you have a section here like this. In between these notches, that section right there, you're going to put it on the loom. You're going to put it on the peg. But you want to find your first section, which is right here. So you're going to take it and you're going to put it on peg. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is do an anchor. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is toss that over. Alright. Then you're going to find that next notch. Okay. And you're going to toss that over. Now, it says 2 stitches on pegs 1 and 2. Then you're going to find the next notch in between those two. You're going to place it on the next stitch. And toss over. Find the next notch, which is right here. Place it on the peg and toss the loop over. So, 2 stitches on pegs 1 and 2. Then you're going to just do 1 stitch all the way through pegs 3 through 11. Okay, so try and keep that there. Alright, then you're going to find the next notch, which is right here. And you're going to toss that over. And you're going to find the next notch. And toss that over. So there's 4. 5. And if you think you want to try to go a little faster, 6, 7. But see, you notice it starts getting a little tighter. So you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. You find your next notch. 7, 8, 9, 10, and you can fit an 11. If you can't, go ahead and just get these knocked over. Okay? This is without using a crochet hook, how you do a weave-in cast on. Okay? Alright, and then 11. So that's pegs 3 through 11. And let me find out here. Okay. So then it says 2 stitches on pegs 12 and 13. Okay. You can find your next marker, put it on there. Try to get this next marker, put it on there, toss over, find the next marker, which is right here, next notch, and toss it over. Okay, I'm going to find your next notch in between, go in, and toss it over. Now, you see the problem that you have if you were to try to just go in and put all those little spaces in between those notches together, it would get too tight. And what this weaving in does is it allows it to be looser, not so tight. Okay, so that's what you're doing, is trying to keep yourself from having to work too tight. Okay, so 2 stitches on pegs 12 and 13. Now we're back to a whole bunch of single stitches, which you can go in and add those spaces between those notches until it gets a little too tight. So pegs 14 through 22 is single, so here's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, so you're just going to knit those over, and what this is doing is providing you with a cast on, and it's much more secure than trying to do the tail separate. Okay, one last one. Okay. Right. Then it says to have 2 stitches on the last 2. Okay. So, and if you feel like you're going to have too many notches left, it's okay if you were to, say, skip one. It's okay. So that's kind of it's not exact science here. So there's 1 and 2. Okay. And then you have 2 more left. And that's where you want to see what all you have. Okay. So there's 1 and 2 and 3. So we can skip that one just to make sure that we're lined up. last one. There we go. And toss it over. Okay. There you go. Now, so there you have 2 and 2, and that's a way of doing this without having a to have a crochet hook. But in the book, I show you how to do it with a crochet hook. So I've just showed you how to do it without a crochet hook. There you go. So now we're going to flip over to the next section, and what it should say to do is to knit everything down to 1 stitch, basically. So if you have 2 stitches on there, you knit the 2 together. So you have 2 stitches there, so you knit 2 together. Then it says to knit 9. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then knit 2 together 2 times. So here's 1 and 2, and then knit 9. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, make sure you get it all the way over. 7, 8, and 9, and then knit 2 together 2 times. Okay, so 1, and then 2. Alrighty. You have now officially set your little tail up. See? Okay. Your little tail's there. Goldfish tail. Okie dokie. Now, what it says to do is it says after you do this, you want to send a strand of yarn through every single stitch for a drawstring close later. Okay, so you can take the outside strand of your yarn and cut it. And you're just going to weave it in all the way around. Okay, now if you don't want it too bulky, you can do every other one. That would probably work fine. But basically what you want to do is, I may do every other one. So, but it says to do every single one. So it's up to you. You can follow exactly as it says, but if you don't want it to have a little too much bulk or something along those lines, you can just go in and send it through. Okay. Alright, so we're going to just kind of pull that through. I'll skip one. So only weave in 12. But this is going to be for closing up the back end later. This is how you're going to close off the fish and really make it fluff out like a normal tail. Okay. Make sure you don't lose too much. That looks about right. Okay. So you're just going to send these through. You can send them through every single stitch. You can send it through every other. I'm going to send it through every other so that I don't really have to sew up the back end so much. I published this book 3 years ago. I have figured out even more tricks to make things easier and better, and so the next 50 animal pattern book will probably have even more nice little tricks on how to sew less and be able to achieve more, that kind of thing. Okay, we should be reaching back to our starting point. So There we have it. There's our pull strings right there. Okay. So, keep in mind, those are your pull strings. Alright. Now, what comes next, you may ask? So after you do that, it says rows 2 through 5, you're going to just knit. Okay, so, and what you'll do is when you get to those, you're just going to knit that over. Okay, so, just go in and knit your way around. And you're going to do that for rows 2 through 5. Right. And then we're going to be working row 6, which is where we start making the body fatter. Okay. And this is not an easy pattern because there's a lot of shaping involved to get that nice goldfish kind of shape. Okay. So, and your last one. Okay. So what you may want to do, take and put that in the middle so you ain't gonna mess with it and deal with it later. Okay? Alright. Now, that is row 2. So 3, 4, 5, 3 more rows. And then when we come back, we'll be ready to start our wrap and turn section. Okay, we've done rows 2 through 5, and now we're on row 6. And row 6, it says to knit 17, wrap and turn. Okay, and this is where we're going to do a short row section. So you're going to knit 17. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. And you're going to wrap, go behind, and turn. Now, we're doing a short row method. It's up to you. You can do a different kind of short row method. You can do a German short row. It's up to you. I chose to do a wrap and turn when I wrote these. Alright, now it says to knit 10. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it says to wrap and turn. Okay. Then you're going to knit 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then it says to wrap and turn. And see, you should have 2 here. Okay. Then it says to knit 8, wrap and turn, knit 6, wrap and turn. Knit 7, wrap and turn, knit 6, wrap and turn, knit 5, wrap and turn, knit 4, wrap and turn, knit 4. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to keep doing this process of wrapping and turning until you are down to 4 single stitches in between your wraps and turns. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your wrap and turn section. Alright, and we'll come back and we will go to the next section of row 6, which is where we start increasing back out. And what this is doing is creating a hump, which is on the top of the body. Okay, so you should see 1, 2, 3, 4 wrap and turn singles, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 wrap and turns over here. Alright, So then what it says is to knit 4, knit 2 together, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 6, knit 2 together, and then you see that you're slowly adding them back in. So you're going to start with a peg you finished with. You're going to knit 4, and then you're going to knit 2 together. Okay. Start with a peg you finished with. Knit 5, knit 2 together. You get the general idea. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your increases out. So you knit 6, knit 2 together. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, complete your increasing out like it says to do. Keep following it. And then you should end up with knit 11, knit 2 together, and then come back there and do the knit 6. Or if you want to continue on, you can add, and your last add should be over here, and then you just knit to your starting point again, and that finishes row 6. Then you can go in and knit in the round for 2 rows. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to do this, but all you're doing is you're going in and you're knitting over, knitting the 2 together, starting with the peg you finished with, knitting over, knitting 2 together, starting with the peg you finished with, knitting over, knit 2 together. And so when you go to get your last wrap and turn, peg lifted, knit those 2 together, then you're just going to knit 6 straight across to the starting point. Okay, so you're just going to knit right back to your starting point. Alright, so that's knit 6. Then rows 7 and 8, you're going to just knit. So you're going to knit for 2 rows. Alright, when we come back, we'll start row 9. Okay, and then that's going to be our fin row, and then you'll have another 6 rows of knit, which is pretty self-explanatory, and then we'll start working the face. And okay, so go ahead and finish up row 6, and then go ahead and knit rows 7 and 8, and when we come back, we'll start on row 9. Okay, I've done my increase out, I've done my 2 rounds of knit, and I'm on ready to start row 9. Okay, and I know I'm going to need at least 4 stitch markers. Alright, so here's how this is going to work. It says to knit 4, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the fin is a short row series that you're going to be doing, and it's a 2-row repeat, and you're going to do it for a total of 30 rows. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your stitch markers in the next 4, because there is a BOLB, bring original loops back. So you want to put the stitch markers in those original, so you know what you're bringing back. Makes it tons easier. Alright. Now, to make it a little easier on this, now on my first row I have actually knit 1, purl 1 2 times, which is just knit 1, purl 1 all the way over. What I want to do is kind of get it neutralized, so I'm just going to knit over so that I'm not having to fight with those stitch markers to do the bring the original loops back and that kind of thing. So this is just going to kind of save me, and it's not going to make that much of an adjustment to the overall appearance. So that when you go to start this, you want to start on row 2, where it's purl 1, knit 1. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be row 2. So there's purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. Okay. And you go in, and then you go back to what row 1 should have been, which is knit 1, purl 1. Okay, this should have been what row 1 was, but I didn't want to have to fuss with the stitch markers, which makes it easier to pull them back. And this actually makes row 3. And then you're going to go in and you're going to purl 1, knit 1. You're doing a 1 by 1 rib stitch, okay, and you're doing it for a total of 30 rows. Alright, so you're just going to keep doing a 1 by 1 rib stitch back and forth for a total of 30 rows, alright? So this is going to be row 4. And might I suggest you have a row counter, and that way you don't have to keep up with it, okay? Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and complete 30 rows, and we'll come back and finish up the fin. Remember this section, because I'm not going to show the fin again when it comes up on the other side of the fish, okay? So, go ahead and complete your 30 rows. We'll come back and I'll show you how to finish up the fin, and then we're going to go in and continue to finish up row 9, okay? And then it'll be easy again for another 6 rows. And then we'll be starting on trying to work the head area. Okay, so pause the video, get your 30 rows done, and we'll come back. Okay, I have done my 30 rows. As you can see, here's my little fin. Okay, and so you do your 30 rows total. And it says to bring the original loops back and then knit 2 together 4 times. Okay, so we gotta get our stitch markers here pulled up so that we know what we're working with. Alright, so you bring this corresponding stitches back up just like this. Okay, makes it real easy actually to add the stitches back, just like that. Okay, so at this point it says to knit 2 together 4 times. Then it says to knit 8, then do a fin. So you're going to repeat what we just did again, but not immediately, okay? So then it says to knit 2 together 4 times. So here's 1, and here's 2, and here's 3, and here's 4. Okay, then it says to knit 8. So you're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then in parentheses it says fin. At this point you're going to repeat the exact same thing we just did here in the next 4 stitches. So you want to go ahead and get your stitch markers in place on the next 4 stitches. And then repeat exactly what we just did in the other fin over here. If you need to, go back in the video and watch that section again. But if you feel like you got it, continue on. Okay, so here's our next fin section. You follow what we just did over here. As you can see, there's your fin. Alright. And you have the choice to either sew it up later or not. Okay, so you're going to do that same thing right here. And then when you finish that, what it says to do is to knit 4. So then you're just going to knit 4. So you're going to just knit your way back over to here. Okay, then it says rows 10 through 16. which I believe is 7 rows, you're going to just knit. So pause the video, complete your other fin, knit forward to back to your starting point, and then what you want to do is you want to knit for 7 rows, round and round and round you go, and then when we come back we'll start with row 17 and start showing you how to do the face area. Okay, so pause the video and get that much done, and then we'll come back and start on row 17. Okay, I have done rows 10 through 16, finished up row 9, and this is what you should have. 2 little fins, 6 rows. That's kind of what it should look like. Okay, so what is next? Row 17. It says to knit 6 and then to start working flat. So here we go. We're going to knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're going to start working flat. And what it says to do is it says to decrease. So you're going to lift that stitch you finished with, you're going to move it over that direction. It shows you directionally. Let me lift this camera up a smidge. It's a bigger loom. Okay. So then you're going to knit the 2 together. Then you're going to knit 10. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop. Okay. Then you're going to work back. What you've done is you've split your top and bottom half of your body. Okay, so right now we're working the bottom half of the head. Okay, so then it says to decrease over here. So you're going to decrease over like that. And then you're going to knit the 2 stitches together. And then you're going to knit 9. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Then you're going to, it says to decrease again, knit 2 together, knit 8. And you should start to see a pattern at this point. So you're going to continue doing this process where you decrease the end and then knit over. You're going to keep doing this until you are down to 2 stitches. Okay. So you're down to 2 stitches. You're going to draw a string bind off, it looks like. So decrease, knit 2 together, knit 1. You're going to snip the tail and start the other half. So yeah, you're going to draw a string bind off. Alright. So what you want to do is go ahead and pause the video and work yourself down to 2 stitches on this half. And we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the other half of the head. And it's pretty much the same as this half, but the start off's a little different. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and decrease until you're down to 2. The patterning, we're still going. Okay, and you're going to draw a string bind off. I'll show you how to do that, and I'll show you how to get started with the upper half of the head, and then tell you to finish it just like we did this half. Okay, and so we're almost done with the body. The only thing we'll have to do is the fin on top. Otherwise, we've about got it. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, decrease yourself down, slowly decrease yourself down to 2 stitches, and then we will draw a string bind off and we'll come back and we'll start the other half. Okay, pause the video, get that much done. Okay, so as you can see, I'm down to the 2 stitches. I've already got my tail. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and draw a string bind off. Okay. the bottom half of your goldfish. Okay, well, it's the same process, but you are going to be down, starting the other half of the loom on the left side. So you're going to start over here. All right, and you're going to do a slip knot. Okay. All right. So you're going to slip knot that, and then you're just going to knit over. Okay. Because it says to knit row 17 on the other half. All right. And then you're going to start feeling that patterning coming around again. All right. So that's where you decrease, like that. And then you knit the two together. And then knit your way over and decrease and knit your way over. So at this point, you're ready to repeat exactly what you did over here, here. All right. And go ahead and snip and draw string off, okay, so that we're ready to knit the fin, and then we'll do assembly, okay? So at this point, go ahead and pause the video, finish up your bottom part of your, the top part of your head, okay, and this will basically complete the body. You'll need to sew up the front of the head. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video, complete what you did over here, Go ahead and draw string off, and then when we come back, we're ready to show how to knit the top fin, and then we will assemble everything. Okay, so here's what it looks like. You'll need to sew up the mouth. What I like to do is knot those together, take one, sew it down, take the other, sew it down. Then you'll want to likely go ahead and stuff. If you're wanting to add safety eyes, you may want to go ahead and add them. I usually glue on the eyes, right? But you'll want to stuff. My suggestion is to stuff through here, through the tail area, and then you can go in and drawstring that tail area together. But what you want to do is sew up that mouth area there. So sew and sew. Then you want to add your eyes. We're going to add eyes, okay? So they might be a little close to your seam, but they're going to be somewhere in here. So kind of put a center marking in there, all right? Then you're going to stuff the back end, okay? And try to make sure that you keep your drawstring area together, okay? And it doesn't get stuffed up in there because you're going to need it for when you go to stuff it, okay? And draw the string, that back end area there together. All right, so go ahead and sew that up and stuff, or add your eyes and stuff, and then I'll show you how to finish all that up. Now, what we need to do next is we need to do our upper fin. So let me pull that up real quick. Everything out of the way. Kind of winding down on several film patterns today. Okay, so the top fin says to erect cast on 10 pegs flat. Okay, so you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Alright, and then it says row 1 is to knit. Okay, so we're going to just knit our way over. Okay. And then it says row 2 is to purl. So you're basically doing a 1-by-1 garter stitch through this whole process, but you will also be decreasing on the same side. Okay. Alrighty. Now that it says that we've knit a row, now it says to purl a row. Okay. And then we will figure out on the next row that we'll be decreasing on the same side every time, and you will be continuing this knit 1 row, purl 1 row. When you do the knit row, you're going to decrease, okay? And I'll show you how that works. And then I'll tell you to do your business until you're down to 1. All right? So I'm going to show you what the terminology and the pattern means. And then you can just kind of go from there. All right? I tend to like to do things that show you a pattern is going on. I don't tend to like to do a whole lot of random. And so once you get an idea and a feel, usually it's pretty easy with my patterns to just keep going. Okay. And I know this looks like a struggle, but it's because there's a camera in my way. I usually do this on my lap or my chest. Alrighty, and one last one. Alright, now that is row 2. What it says to do on row 3 is to pick up that stitch, move it over, knit, the 2 together. Okay, so you knitted the 2 together, then you're just going to knit your way over. Then you're going to purl your way back. Okay, and this is the patterning. So you're going to decrease on that end, knit your way over, then purl your way back. You're going to continue that until you're down to 1 stitch. Cut and snip and pull through. Okay, so I'm going to purl my way back. And I'll show you one more time so you understand what's going on. Okay, you purl your way back. Then you're going to, then it says to decrease, so you move it over, and then you knit the 2 together, and you should see a pattern developing here. You're only decreasing on this side. You're going to decrease, and then you're going to knit your way over, and then you're going to purl your way back. You're going to decrease on this side, and you knit your way over, then you're going to purl your way back. And you keep doing this process until you don't have any more stitches. You have just the 1. and then you can just snip and pull through, okay? And that is how you do the top fin, okay? So go ahead, pause the video, continue the process of purl your way back, decrease, knit over, purl your way back, decrease, knit, purl your way back, okay, until you have one stitch left, snip the end, pull through. Okay, so I have sewn up my face, I've stuffed, I've closed up the back end for the most part, and so what you'll want to do is go ahead and tie it off as tight as you can. And you'll see that it pretty much closes that up in the back. Okay, and there is your tail. Now it's up to you if you want to sew up your fins. Okay, now we are at our top fin. Okay, which goes on down the center part of the spine, as you can see here. All right, but first off, you want to go in and tighten your cast on. Here's your tail. Go to the other end. Start pulling. And so when you tighten your cast on, that'll put a cleaner line in there. Now it's up to you how you want to sew this down the spine. You may like it a different position than what I do. That's fine. That's one last one. Okay. And pull. Okay. So we've tightened that up. Alright. But this is your longest side here, and typically I like to go in and sew that on. I wonder what this extra business is. I may just snip that, since I don't know what it is. Try not to cut your thread. Okay, there. Makes sense. Okay, so you'll weave that in, and you'll weave that in, but what you want to do is you want to take your tail that you bound off, and you want to sew it down the spine like that. Okay. You can sew it more to the front if you want, but I usually like to make sure that it comes closer to the back. But basically the point shows at the top of the short row section that we did. Okay, and then you can add your eyes. Looks like I added my eyes usually right about where that sew up spot is. Okay. Alright, so that is how you make a goldfish. Alright.